Your Excellency, President of the Human Rights Council, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as we mark the 25th anniversary of Security Council Resolution 1325, we are here to confront a devastating reality: the alarming prevalence of gender-based violence in conflict, post-conflict, and humanitarian settings. This is not just a human rights issue, it's a critical peace and security imperative. The CEDAW Committee stands resolute in its commitment to addressing these challenges, now more relevant than ever. Tragically, during times of war and crisis, violence against women and girls in their diversity escalates devastatingly. Sexual violence is weaponized as a tactic of war, and perpetrators also exploit chaos to commit forced marriage, torture, femicide, and human trafficking. We see this horrifying reality unfolding across our world. Even after conflicts cease, this violence often spikes. The statistics we observe are stark. Conflict-related sexual violence has surged, with women and girls comprising an overwhelming majority of victims. Beyond physical violence, GBV devastates women's socio-economic well-being, hindering access to livelihoods, education, and healthcare. A pervasive culture of impunity allows perpetrators to escape justice, fostering deep fear and silence. In humanitarian crisis, healthcare systems collapse, exacerbating conditions for pregnant women and limiting essential services. The staggering rise in demand for GBV service, coupled with severe underfunding for women-led organizations, highlight an acceptable gap in our collective humanitarian response. We also recognize the heartbreaking reality that many women endure these heinous crimes in silence, paralyzed by pervasive stigma and fear of their communities. Therefore, a pivotal part of our response must be to actively engage communities to dismantle stigma and to design support programs and genuinely facilitate survivors' social and economic reintegration. Our understanding of conflict-related sexual violence must continue to evolve. We've moved from restrictive interpretation to survivor-informed approaches, recognizing a broader spectrum of sexual violence. Crucially, we now acknowledge conflict-related reproductive violence as a distinct category, a direct violation of reproductive autonomy. These advancements have led to significant legal strides and landmark convictions that the ICC affirm a woman's right to personal and reproductive autonomy. These advancements are also firmly rooted in the comprehensive human rights framework of CEDAW, and our general recommendations have consistently clarified that. And importantly, our general recommendation number 30, which was led by Mrs. Patton on women in conflict, stresses states' extraterritorial obligation, demands a zero-tolerance policy for all forms of GBV. I'm happy to share with you that the committee will soon issue an addendum to GR 30 based on existing norms and will seek feedback from stakeholders. New and complex challenges continuously emerge. We see the weaponization of artificial intelligence, algorithmic bias in military targeting, and AI-fueled digital violence like deepfakes. Unilateral sanctions disproportionately impact vulnerable women by exacerbating poverty and limiting access to health care. To combat persistent impunity, we advocate for survivor-centric justice, recognizing sexual violence as torture and prosecuting gender persecution as a standalone crime. The fact-finding missions established by the Human Rights Council are indispensable for documenting cases and preserving evidence for accountability and reparations, including for transgenerational harm. We must also move towards collective community-based reparations. Furthermore, this Council has a critical role in reinforcing adherence to relevant treaties, such as CEDAW, but also the Non-Proliferation Treaty, the Mine Ban Treaty, and the Convention on Cluster Munitions, specifically highlighting their gendered impact. The systematic perpetration of sexual, reproductive, and other forms of gender-based violence demands our immediate and unwavering collective action. We must relentlessly pursue prosecution at both national and international levels, underscoring the critical importance of universal jurisdiction. To combat GBV in conflict and humanitarian setting, we must enforce zero-tolerance policies and ensure accountability, elevate survivor-centered justice and support, strengthen legal framework and prosecute gender-based crimes, bridge the funding gap for women-led organizations, enhance data collection and documentation for accountability, promote adherence to treaties, including Mine Action and the Non-Proliferation Treaty and CEDAW, address emerging threats from technology and sanctions, and implement convention-compliant Women, Peace and Security National Action Plans. I thank you for your attention.